I say yes when I mean no, and the wrinkle grows. I've been practicing surrender so long that I many times thought, if I just do nothing about this, then things will evolve however they should.
Fully surrender and letting go doesn't mean that we are passive or get defeated. It means that we're taking control over a situation that gives us freedom because we're taking responsibility for it. Hello and welcome to our podcast, and thank you for joining us. Today we are here with Pernilla Burke, the founder and creator of the Awakening 101 and also this podcast. And then me, her best friend, Louise Severin, and I'm here in Denmark and Pernilla is in the US. And today's topic is surrender to no. Listen with us and I hope we will enjoy it.
I just want to say something about the theme before we take just a quick moment of pause to settle in before we begin. Surrendering to no is what we're calling it, but it's really a podcast about surrendering to your true self, or surrendering to your authentic self. Because if we don't, then we're just hiding. And it's kind of a spiritual bypass. So surrender is like a big subject, right? Letting go. And we talk about that all the time. So this is this is an angle of surrender that is important in order to feel and find freedom. So that is what the podcast is going to be about today. And we're going to begin just with a minute or two of meditation so that we can settle in and become quiet inside. So I want you to close your eyes and just tune into your body. Sort of a holistic view or a holistic awareness of the existence and the sensation of your own body. Then take a deep breath in. Breath out. And just for 3 or 4 breaths, we're just going to rest our attention on the air as it enters and exits the nostrils. Let go of the tension in the shoulders. The gripping of the abdomen, let go. Upper thighs and hips, let go. Just this awareness of the nostrils. Just for a second here, think about the flow of the air and how we can make it a deep breath or a lighter breath, but we really have no control of breathing. It happens organically. And the teaching is, if we surrender deeply to our authentic selves, we end up in that same flow as our breath, synced with the flow of the universe. In unity with everything around us. A few more breaths here at the nostrils. In, out, in, out. Palms together. Bow. Namaste.
Namaste.
You can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pernilla.
Yeah, thank you. I guess that's where I would like to begin, with this idea that it's a very fine line, surrender and letting go. And I think that I thought that I had it, but I've been practicing surrender so long that I sort of many times thought, if I just do nothing about this, then things will evolve however they should. And that works, I think, most of the time. That's the correct thing, because you're letting go of control. So you step back and you refrain from controlling or fixing or rearranging. But then I discovered that sometimes that's actually not surrender. Instead, it's hiding. Because if you do nothing in some situations, then you're just hiding. When I started putting my foot down in situations where I was only letting go because I was too afraid to put my foot down, or just too much work, I don't want to argue about this, so I'm just going to let it go, right? Then it actually causes a physical reaction and stress, because it's like you're out of sync with yourself. And then if you're out of sync with yourself, then you're also out of sync, which is what I was saying in the meditation, with that flow that we're trying to connect with as people on the spiritual path. That's the biggest thing that I discovered, is that sometimes when you do say no and you let go of attachment to upsetting people, which is a big one, right? We don't want to have a fight with people. Or Louise and I are from Sweden, so we don't like to fight with people. But it's like an inner abandoning of our inner truth. And I've found that this is, for me, one of the most freeing realizations, even though, we know this. We know this. The concept itself, we know it as human beings. We know that, of course, you should be authentic and speak your truth. But it's so subtle sometimes that we might just say, I'm just going to let this go. I don't want to cause a hassle.
Also, what you're saying there, that of course we know it, but to put it into action and to live it and to practice it, that's a different thing, because we can know it in our head and we can read about it, but if we don't practice it, and I think that's also where it becomes important that when we say no, when we need to practice surrender, we do make mistakes. It's important to know that you also practice self-compassion, because when we surrender, there is an action that you have to be completely fearless, and you don't know what the outcome will be for the other person, but you need to trust yourself and your own process. And sometimes it hurts, and sometimes you maybe feel that you did it wrong, or it was not really, you maybe said no too harsh, or you maybe put your boundaries out there instead of take them a little bit closer. So I think that self-compassion is a key also to how to learn how to surrender. And when you said that you realized that you were hiding behind it, then I wanted to ask you, when we surrender with full awareness, when you're really present in the moment of you surrender, do you still hide? Do you know what I mean?
It's a great question, because I do believe that I had the process around, should I let this go or not? And I made the decision to let things go, even though it didn't feel right. And I was still aware that it didn't feel right.
But that's your body talking to you. The body never lies and the energy never lies. You're not being authentic there because your body is saying, this was not you. You agreed on something, but it didn't felt right because you didn't take the
Yeah.
responsibility of fully surrender and letting go. Doesn't mean that we are passive or get defeated. It means that we're taking control over a situation that gives us freedom because we're taking responsibility for it.
I have so many things to say in response to what you said, because first of all, I've noticed more in the last year or so that certain interactions leave me with my shoulders super tight and high up. And I'm like, why am I walking around like with my shoulders up? I know which interactions that happens with. So that's when you say body never lies. I mean, yeah. And I think that's why I brought that into the meditation, because if I'm just sitting around and doing nothing, like I'm like shrugging my shoulders. But I think that it's such a fine line with this authenticity and surrender. And when are we saying no? And when are we actually letting things go and not saying no? Like, it's a very fine line. And I think what I've noticed, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is that when we let go, quote, let go, and the situation doesn't change or comes back again, it isn't fully surrendered.
No. I love
Right?
it.
I mean,
Yeah,
because if you think
completely.
about it, so if you say, oh, I'm going to let this go, I mean, I noticed that if it's something with the kids or something that happens, I'm going to let this go. And then the next day, something else happens in the same category because I didn't actually address it.
But I also think that's the part of the journey, because if you didn't get these small lessons, and again, back to the key is the awareness to everything, how we would like to change and transform and to grow as a person. So if these small
Mm-hmm.
things didn't come back to you, if you would just, oh, I surrender, and then you didn't feel anything and you were just moving on, I don't think we would integrate that wisdom in our lives the same way.
I mean, that's what this podcast is about. The Awakening Process
Mm.
101 is the small lessons. We've been doing this podcast for 2.5 years, and we've
It's going
talked
to be
about
3 years
surrender.
in Christmas. Yeah,
Wow, that's
3 years
amazing.
since we created the idea. Like when we
Yeah.
meet in Stockholm in
So
Christmas, it would be 3 years.
it's the small lessons that keep us on the path, even though the large lessons are like the ones that hits us over the head. But I want to read actually the poem that is a part of the blog that I wrote, which is exactly what we're talking about here today. It's by somebody, her name is Naomi Shihab Nye, Nye. And it's a poem that I found in the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. And it goes, I say yes when I mean no, and the wrinkle grows.
Wow.
I say yes when I mean no, and the wrinkle grows. And that's exactly what I came across this summer. That's what's happening, because I think I let things go. And then something else happens. Sometimes that other thing that happens is even worse than the first thing that I let go, because it keeps, the universe is designed that way. When it wants you to learn something, it'll keep reminding you until you really fully, I mean, how many patterns do we have that are unresolved, like the deep primal patterns that we all have? For me, it might be, don't upset people. What is yours?
But I need to share one thing about this, because
Okay.
related to this poem and to your beautiful blog there, when I went in high school, I could sit in my agenda because we didn't have any cell phone at that time, so I was still manual in the agenda, and someone could call me up and say, "Can you
Okay,
meet?"
let's just say, hold on. No one knows what an agenda is. It's a calendar, an old school
It's
calendar. Okay. She still has one, by the way. That's awful.
I'm the only one doing
Oh,
it, still
jeez.
doing it. But anyway, and I
Yeah.
could sit there And they could go, oh, can you meet at 12 o'clock? Yeah, but yes, of course. But I could see in my agenda that I couldn't meet 12 o'clock because I had 3 other appointments at the same time. So my agenda was always, and this is about the wrinkles. I couldn't say no. And I went in therapy for this. And why were I so scared of saying no? The people pleasing. Why couldn't I just say, no, I can't. Can we meet later? Or can we meet another day? I could literally sit, even though I was on work, and I could sit and see, oh, let's put Pernilla in there. Let's put Caroline in there. It's all at the same time. It's impossible to do. And even today, sometimes I do it. And then when I went to NA, there was a beautiful setting saying, no is a full sentence. I didn't have to explain myself. No is a full sentence. Yes is a full sentence, so why shouldn't no be a full sentence? And that was so revealing to me. And I say, I don't have to explain myself. No is enough.
No is a full sentence. I love that.
Isn't it beautiful?
If you look at the journey of a spiritual path, as we evolve and awakening, a path that is never finished. This is the elements of fine-tuning where you're sitting there with your calendar and you're stuffing a bunch of people in because you don't want to say no. And it's not like you're harming anybody really besides yourself because it's super stressful.
And then I need to call them up and then say no. And then the harm comes in because I make that person disappointed.
It was a pain in my ass. I just think it's incredible, this sort of thing. No is just as important as yes.
Yes.
When it comes to surrender. Surrender isn't always yes. Surrender is just simply, well, it's not simple, but it should be letting go of the attachment of the outcome.
But why is it not simple?
Because we're human beings and we like to control things. And our ego thinks that we have to.
I can't control the outcome. Like I can't make your narrative. And that's what I want to do.
Yeah. And we want to blame other people for everything that goes wrong. Do you know anything about that? Do you ever blame anybody else?
No, have never happened in my life. My children are blaming me, but I mean, I'm blaming no one.
Of course. This is like a core thing for me, because I'm a people pleaser. Well, most of us are. To be able to say no, and I can't explain why, because I don't have to. It's a full sentence. No is a full sentence. But the amount of, I would say, Shakti or prana or sort of life force energy that I have right now compared to 6 months ago, because I've made a conscious effort to stay authentic to myself. Often when something happens in my life where I get upset, I'm sort of like a deer in headlights. I'm not ready for it, so I don't respond in a timely manner. The next day I'll be like, wait a minute, I should have told this person, no, that's not okay. But it's literally like I have a delayed reaction.
You wake up one day after.
Yeah, and be like, wow.
What do you do then? When you realize the day after, 2 days after, oh, I would have said that. How do you cope with that? Do you call the person back, or how do you work with that?
Well, it depends on who it is. That's the sad part. My husband, I always go back and be like, by the way, this thing, XYZ. Because again, I'm trying to control the outcome. Him and I, we're always working on things. So he'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. But some people, when I don't know exactly how they're going to react, I might not say anything. I mean, I try to think about this in a conscious way. But a year ago, I would have just been like, oh, whatever. And then it comes back around.
And then it comes back. When you say that I want to surrender and I want to say no and I want to stay true to myself and I want to be my authentic self, then my little mind goes, but how do I know when I'm in my authentic self?
Okay, this is what I was getting at about the prana and the energy and everything. How do I know when I'm in my authentic self? I'm trying to come up with like a short list of things. For me, what I feel is a sense of presence. Because if you're not disturbed by your inner arguing, then your inner sort of negotiation with yourself, your mind is more quiet when you're authentic, because you're not trying to figure out what the solution is. And I honestly feel like I have more energy overall. I sleep less. I'm more focused on the things that are happening right now. I'm getting more done because I'm not always trying to remember.
You're more in ease, right? You're more in ease in your body.
But just super alert also. But it was something that I think that the universe delivered this exactly when it should have, because something happened this summer where I had no choice but to say no. The stress was affecting me physically.
Don't you want to share a little? You don't have to go into details, but people who are listening, just a little bit of what happened. What were you confronted with, and what did you feel that you couldn't say? You needed to say no to something that was uncomfortable.
Somebody that I love deeply was unwell mentally. And the situation around it, there's this thing where how much can I help, and
Yeah.
how much responsibility do I have, and how much am I enabling, like not pulling the plug on things that are actually helpful to pull the plug on. And because you love somebody so deeply, it gets very difficult to see sort of where the light is or what the right thing to do is. Whereas if you told me a situation about what you're doing, I'd be like, no, you have to XYZ, do this. But for yourself, it's always really hard when it's like a close family member or something. But I started feeling physically sick from the stress of the situation that I was in. That's when, and I believe this, it's like the universe delivers the lessons when you're ready. And I was ready because I was feeling physically sick. So I had no choice. And then with the help of my spiritual advisor, Abdi, he's like, it's time to say no.
But I guess, of course, it's harder when you're in a relationship where it's really close to you and when you really love the person. But I think people can compare this also to divorce, or even me in my situation with my daughter. Sometimes no is a full sentence, but no is not a hateful word. No can be full of love. Because when you say no to someone, it can help them.
I did it out of love.
Exactly. And that's what I mean, that we need to work with the word no. It doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be harmful. It could be full of love. And when you said no, you also said no to actually, especially for listen to yourself, but also there was a guest for the other person also, because you can't go in and fix another person. No one can.
No, they have to fix themselves.
They have to help themselves, but we can support them, we can inspire them, we can be there, but we can't do the work for them. And that's why no comes in.
If you think about this in the area of parenting, because we had so many rules when we were growing up, some parents, maybe not in this, I mean, we're like not this generation, we're old now, but people raise kids with no rules. And it causes a lot of stress to not have any routine or any rules.
Or any boundaries.
Rules that make sense. And that's exactly what you're saying here. Like having a framework around no and having rules that make sense actually creates safety. And I guess for me to say no to a difficult situation, the adult Pernilla and the little Pernilla, that can't say no to anybody, you create a cocoon of safety for myself. I made myself feel safe by saying no. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It feels like you have discovered, by saying no, you find that inner room, the inner sacred space.
I mean, we talk about this with you in your situation, ex-divorce, and how to navigate the relationship in a family, and how much you are able to surrender in order to keep the family functioning, even though you're divorced now, and how much you're willing to surrender and say, no, this is not okay.
I can bring up an example there. Now, this is going to be my first Christmas without the children, which is a big deal, without my ex-husband for 20 years. Of course, our deal was that we should do all the birthdays and all the high things together. And I know that we can do Christmas Eve together, but I really don't feel welcome. I don't feel welcome by my ex-husband. I don't feel welcome by his family. And I know that my children's most wish is that I'm with them on Christmas Eve. But I meditated on it. I really had to feel in my body what is good for me, because I need to feel good in this situation. I know that, of course, I should prioritize the kids, but there is a boundary also for me. We're going to have the little Christmas together with my ex-husband in the morning. But then the Christmas Eve, they're going to do on their own with my ex-husband, with their father and his family. Because if they would have standing there with open arms and I would have felt welcome, it would be a different thing. But I know that that energy is not lying. And if I come in there, I will not be the best version of myself. I will not feel that we are part of this. So now I will do my volunteer work, which is a great experience, and I never done that. And I will probably be able to bring something into the kids. But this has been a big dilemma for me. Should I say no or should I compromise?
Wow. It's the compromise. That's the key word here. What is surrender and compromise, and what is surrender truly? That's the key word here, compromise.
So interesting.
And I have to say that I'm so proud of you, because it's like I also know how that would feel that Christmas Eve when you're sort of, to be honest, pretending.
Yeah.
I know exactly how that feels, because I was doing that too in family situations, just to keep it smooth. You do it out of love. But if you think about it, 10 years from now, you're teaching your kids, you're teaching them that it's not okay to compromise. And it's not okay to pretend.
No. And it's not okay to compromise that makes you feel sick. I would not be true to myself. And I also had this discussion, is this my ego or am I just thinking about myself? And I said, okay, energy is never lying. And if our situation would have been different, now we just had 16th, 18th year's birthday, went perfect and it was really nice and everything. But that was our friends. So it was not just his family. So feeling that black sheep, feeling that you're not part of it, why should I do it?
Yeah, and honestly, there's just this, there's like a really deeply ingrained attachment to Christmas.
Yeah.
Deeply. It's sort of like the one day of year where you somehow prove how loved you are, or how your existence is needed on this planet somehow. And James and I were very similar here. We're like, it's just a day. I like to do presents and the Christmas tree and all that stuff. It does have spiritual significance, of course, but it's okay to not do that if it's going to make you feel physically sick.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Long term, you're showing up for Louise and for your kids. Because if you're true to yourself, you're better off with interacting with your kids. Because if you go to that dinner or the evening and you feel uncomfortable, you're going to be a little bit not yourself. And they're like, what's wrong with mom? And they're going to stress because you're not happy. And then it's actually not great anyway.
No, exactly.
When I lived in LA, it was Thanksgiving one year, or actually maybe it was Christmas. And a friend and I went downtown and did a soup kitchen downtown LA instead of Christmas or Thanksgiving. I can't remember which one it was. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Something that's going to fill your soul to be of service to people in need is way, way, way more important than living up to some sort of dream that we have to all have this like Christmas together when it's uncomfortable.
And one thing that I have thought of a lot is that, and this is a big question, maybe we could do a podcast about that too, but it's, what is the purpose in life? But one of my purpose is to create memories. I want to create good memories. And I think this would be a great memory. Like when you came here some weeks ago and Pernilla invited me to the Radiohead concert, it was a blast, a great memory. And I just realized that having those moments, to create those moments,
that's important.
It's important.
I think what I want to say as like a wrap up is that I really want to emphasize that surrender, and again, Louise said this, we know this, but it's these little lessons that are still, we're just fine tuning the instrument here, the spiritual instrument. Surrender is not about yes or no. And it's just as important to say no as it is to say yes in the practice of surrender. It's the idea that we let go of the outcome. We are not attached to the outcome. So if we say no, and then we let go of the outcome, whatever happens after that is what we surrender to. And so it's like shifting people's understanding to that surrender might be related to giving up or being passive about it. which we've never actually said, but this episode is really underlying that it's not passive.
And I thinking of one more thing when you said that, is that no, often we see no as a resistance, but no should be a release.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a full sentence.
Is that what you say when you, exactly.
Good stuff, my friend.
Oh God, this is so wonderful.
You're going to go out there and say no now.
I'm going to say, talk to my hand.
No, not doing
No,
it.
it's a full sentence. No, it's a full sentence.
Exactly.
Oh.
All right.
All right.
Thank you guys for listening, and be well. Practice saying no.
Wonderful. And please put some comments down in the feed or write to Pernilla if there's any questions or topics that
Any
you would like
questions
to...
or suggestions of new episodes? It's Pernilla at awakening-101.com. PERNILLA at awakening-101.com. Thank you so much.